Hello lovelies and welcome back. If you are new here, my name is Christina, and to be honest, I don't even know how to define this channel anymore. We've been up and down and all over the place, and right now, let's just say I love sharing about my life and I love books. That's all we're gonna define this as. We're not gonna try to niche this down or branch it all over the place. We're just gonna define it as my personal channel where I share whatever. But one thing I know for sure is that I love Stephen King, and I know quite a few of you who watch this channel also love Stephen King. And usually when Stephen King comes out with a new book, I am pretty quick about picking it up and reading it or listening to it on audiobook or a combination of the two. And usually I'm also pretty quick about getting a review up for you guys. I have been lazy about that for a couple of releases now. I at least know that I have not done a review on Fairy Tail yet, and that has been out for about a year. But if you still want to see that, if you still want me to review Fairy Tail, let me know in the comments and I will definitely do that because I have some thoughts, mostly good ones. But just let me know and I'll definitely do a late review of Fairy Tail. I might also do a review of The Curator by Owen King. We'll see. But today we are reviewing Stephen King's latest release, and that is Holly. Holly is the character that we met in the Mr. Mercedes trilogy. I have to read this little piece on the back of the cover for you. It says, "I could never let Holly Gibney go. She was supposed to be a walk-on character in Mr. Mercedes, and she's just stole the book and stole my heart. Holly is all her." Stephen King wrote that, and I think that is so great because I think Holly is one of those characters that surprised everyone. I just know that so many constant readers have fallen in love with Holly Gibney, myself included, so I was very excited to see this book and see the cover knowing that it was all about Holly. But even though the book is called Holly, we do follow a few different characters in this as well. This came out on September 5th, 2023. It is about 450 pages long. This is it the UK or the US? No, this is the US cover, hardback. Nothing much to show underneath here, which was a bit disappointing because some of the newer releases that he's has had some kind of decorative thing going on underneath the dust jacket, but it's very clean and simple, black, gold font. This is from Scribner. I have not gone through other reviews to see if there are other more embellished versions of this book. Haven't geeked out that much over Holly yet, but I probably will. But this is the copy that I could get my hands on in my hometown, and it was my favorite of the two I've seen. I've seen another one, which is probably the UK one, with slightly different view of a house with a bicycle outside, which ties in really well with the story, but we're not going to go into full geek mode over the covers now. Let's talk about the story. So because I don't want to spoil you of anything, I'm just going to quickly read through the synopsis here so that I know that I'm not sharing too much. Stephen King's Holly marks the triumphant return of beloved King's character Holly Gibney. Readers have witnessed Holly's gradual transformation from a shy but also brave and ethical recluse in Mr. Mercedes to Bill Hodges' partner in Finders Keepers to a full-fledged, smart, and occasionally tough private detective in The Outsider. In King's new novel, Holly is on her own and up against a pair of unimaginable, depraved, and brilliantly disguised adversaries. When Penny Dahl calls the Finders Keepers detective agency hoping for help locating her missing daughter, Holly is reluctant to accept the case. Her partner, Pete, has COVID, her very complicated mother has just died, and Holly is meant to be on leave. But something in Penny Dahl's desperate voice makes it impossible for Holly to turn her down. Mere blocks from where Bonnie Dahl disappeared live Professor Rodney and Emily Harris. They are the pictures of bourgeois respectability. Married, octogenarians, devoted to each other, and semi-retired lifelong academics. But they are harboring an unholy secret in the basement of their well-kept, book-lined home, one that may be related to Bonnie's disappearance, and it will prove nearly impossible to discover what they are up to. They are savvy, they are patient, and they are ruthless. Holly must summon all her familiar inimitable talent to outthink and outmaneuver the shockingly twisted professors in this chilling new masterwork from Stephen King. I'm gonna put this down so I don't fiddle with it too much, because I know I will. So that is the synopsis. I'm gonna try really hard not to spoil you of anything. I'm gonna have a sip of coffee first, because coffee. And I haven't spoken about a Stephen King book in a really long time, and I'm getting excited, so I'm talking fast, and I'm feeling parched. But anyways, let's get into Holly. I love Holly Gibney. She's such a wonderful character. She has so much depth, and she's evolving all the time. But she has so many flaws that makes her feel very real, and I don't know, I think that's why I love coming back to Holly and following along on her story. This book, it is a crime novel, but it does definitely have elements of horror in it, and without spoiling too much, there are elements in this book that will turn some people's stomachs, so beware of that. Because I will say, I don't have a sensitive stomach. I love the gore and the horror and everything, but there were moments in this book where I was like, ugh, ugh, in the best possible way. So now that I've said that, let's get a little into the book here. Firstly, we're gonna talk Easter eggs. There are lots of Easter eggs in this. I've discovered a few on my own. I went through Reddit and just deep dived into the Easter eggs, and there were quite a few that I hadn't seen either. There were very obvious Easter eggs to Carrie, Shawshank Redemption. There were a few that could be like Dark Tower elements. We saw 19 a lot. So there are quite a few Easter eggs buried in this book. If you are Reddit and you found some, please let me know in the comments down below, because I think this is such a brilliant thing that Stephen King does, the way that he hides these Easter eggs about his other works in his books. I love it, and I love searching for them. But sometimes I get so invested in the story that I kind of forget, and I think that's what happened with Holly, which was just a story that totally grabbed me and held on throughout the entire book. It is kind of a slow burn crime in the beginning, but then it really picks up the pace later on in the story. So I got totally sucked in and totally forgot to search for Easter eggs later in the book. So there might have been quite a few that I missed, but like I said, I did go through Reddit and look and read through the comments there to see what other constant readers found, and there were quite a few. The story of this book is set in 2021, the height of COVID. So COVID is mentioned quite a lot in this book. Some people might not like that, feeling that it is too soon. For me, I didn't really mind, and I think it will be interesting to see later on when someone picks up this book in about 10, 15, 20 years time to actually have events centered in times of COVID and actually incorporating that into the stories, because it did happen and it's a part of our history now. So I think it's interesting to see how authors intertwine that period of time into their stories. There is also quite a lot of politics. If you are a constant reader, you know this by now. Stephen King likes to incorporate politics into his books, and especially about the views that he prefers or don't prefer. I know quite a few readers don't particularly like that, and I always get a lot of like trolley comments on Stephen King reviews where I mention that I don't mind him having jabs at Trump, because I don't. But that's just personal preference. If you don't like that, if you don't like politics being incorporated in stories, Stephen King books might not be the thing for you, especially the ones that are set in the real world. Then maybe you should pick up like Dark Tower or the more like fantasy mystery horror things that are not set in the real world. But the newer additions to his extremely long list of books do have quite a bit of politics infused into them, and that's just the way it is. That is Stephen King's work and his choice to incorporate that, and I as a reader don't mind, but you might. But there is that, and even I noticed that it was quite a lot in this book. Again, I didn't mind, but I'm pretty sure that quite a few will. We also follow the perspective of Professor Rodney and Emily Harris, and then we also get to see a little bit from Barbara's perspective, which is a character that we also know from previous books. And there are a few like different stories in... Someone knocked on my door, which almost never happens unannounced, so totally lost my train of thought. Where was I? Oh yeah, I think I was talking about the different perspectives in the story. I really like that we get to see the behind the scenes of the perpetrators here, and we get kind of the backstory to why they are doing exactly what they are doing. There's also something really chilling about being like inside the minds of criminals, and especially these perpetrators who are doing something so horrendous for the reason that they are doing it. It's really hard to talk about this without spoiling the story, and if you have already read it, you will know why and what it is that I'm talking about, or trying not to talk about in a way that you can understand. But I found it to be very interesting and really cool to be able to follow along on these different aspects of the story, and we also get like a separate story with Barbara that does kind of intertwine with the whole story in the end. But yes, I'm gonna stop rambling now because I feel like I'm pretty much all over the place with this review because I haven't reviewed books in a really long time, so I'm a bit rusty. Just bear with me. I will give you my thoughts. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I have not loved like every crime, like Mr. and Mercedes Holly story that we've had so far. I've enjoyed all of them, but I haven't loved every one of them. This one, I loved it. It was gory, it was fantastic, it was suspenseful, it was interesting to see it coexist with COVID, and to get this really deep dive into Holly's persona and her feelings around her mom's death, around her upbringing, and also just being able to be on different sides of this story gave it so much more depth. I love getting to know Holly. I hope we get more Holly stories because she's just such an interesting character, and you kind of never get tired of her because she has so many sides to her. And when you think you know Holly, she does something so surprising, so it keeps you on your toes, which I absolutely love. I couldn't praise this book enough. I know it's not going to be for everyone, but that's books in general for you. Some readers will love something, some will not. I am a constant reader of Stephen King. I love a lot of his works, but not everything. But this one, it's up there at the top, especially up there at the top when it comes to his crime novels. I would highly recommend Holly, but I do really recommend going through the Mr. Mercedes series and then The Outsider and If It Bleeds as well before you get into this one. Because there is quite a lot of backstory and you will miss a lot of it if you go straight to Holly and read that as your first book. There's so much missing when it comes to backstory for you that you probably won't enjoy it as much as I did, or as another constant reader that really loves this character. You might also find that if you read Mr. Mercedes and the other Holly books that you might not like the character, and then you'll definitely not like this one. But if you've already read the other books that follows, oh sorry, but if you have already fallen in love with Holly and you have not yet picked up Holly, then you definitely should. It is such a wonderful read. It's so much fun to follow Holly along for this suspenseful, gory, but wonderful story. I just gotta say, well done, Stephen King. He did it again. He made me fall in love with the book, and now I can't stop thinking about it. So I'm just here waiting for another Holly Gibney book because I can't get enough. So please give us more. So there you have it. That is my rambling all over the place review of Holly by Stephen King. Let me know in the comments down below if you've read it, if you want to read it, if you have any thoughts, if you loved it, if you hate it. I would love to know either way. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and I will see you in another video soon. Goodbye!